Well, I finally got around to starting to build the actual box part of this router table. Um, like, I want to just build it pretty much like the one that the guys use on the router workshop. The only difference is I'm going to make it so it knocks down, because I'm going to be taking it to Phoenix, and even though I have a double garage there, it's not very big, so I want to be able to take it apart and just stack it up. So what I'm going to do here is there's going to be 3 partitions, one on each end and then one right here. And in this area, that's where the bit storage is going to be. If you can imagine, this is flipped over. So first thing I'm going to do is cut these pieces here for the partitions. And I've got this chunk of plywood that I had bought that I was telling you guys it was on sale. This one's cross-cut. I guess that's why. Well, actually, they weren't all cross-cut, because this one wasn't cross-cut. That was regular. But anyways, this is cross-cut. No big deal, because I can cut them so the vertical part is going this way with the grain. I need 14.5 inches. So what I'm going to do when they cut that, I don't know what they cut that with, probably a skill saw or something. I'm going to use the factory edge down here. I'll cut it to 15 inches, and then using the side I cut, I'll cut it to 14.5 coming back this way. And that way I'll have 2 good edges. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Well, I've got the piece of plywood ripped to height, I guess it would be. And I just set up a little stop block there, so I need to cut 3 pieces. Lined up my cut line with the inside of the blade, you can see there. So all I need to do is run that through, slide it along till it hits, once it's cut, then slide the next part down till it hits this, and do that 3 times, and they should all be the same, hopefully. So yeah, so I'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll get back. Okay, well, we got these partition pieces cut, and because I don't really have a set plan how I'm doing this, I'm just kind of making it up as I go. What I'm going to end up doing is, I thought about this for a while, because I don't particularly like this table saw, and it doesn't have a dado blade. So I think what I'm going to do is just use my rabbiting bit that I used the other day and cut a 1/4 inch tenon on the end of these, and then that tenon's going to fit into a mortise that I'm cutting into the bottom of the tabletop and into the base. So believe it or not, I found a jig that I had made a few years back, and it's long enough to span the gap here. You can see I've got a guide collar in there and a 1/2 inch mortising bit. I've set the depth on that mortising bit to cut just under or just over a 1/4 inch. So then I plan on using knockdown hardware. I'll put I guess we'll see that later. I'll put a couple flat bolts from the top side. I can't think of a better way to do it. So as much as I don't like having holes in the top, hopefully I can do it neatly and it won't affect the routering part too much. But I want this thing to be able to knock down, so I'm kind of limited to how I can do it. I thought about maybe gluing and screwing some cleats along here and then attaching the sides to them, but yeah, I don't know. I just don't want to do that. So anyways, I'm going to cut these grooves, and once I cut these grooves, I'm going to use them to mark the base, where the grooves go in the base, and then that way they'll be in the same place. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Well, kind of good. Does a pretty good job. this jig was just long enough to you can see where my line is there. Just ends right at the line. I don't know. I guess that's my lucky day. Yeah, so I just had it. I've just got like a T-square on here, and then I just clamp it. It actually works pretty good. And I'll just check it that it's just a hair above or deeper than 1/4, and it is, so we're good to go. I'll cut the other 3 and probably do the base, and then we can cut the tenons on the partition pieces. You know, I don't know how you guys are around spinning sharp blades, but this fucking table saw is a piece of shit. First of all, the blade's like a 14-inch blade, okay? So that's pretty impressive, right? Well, fuck no, because the blade is attached right to the motor. So the motor hits the table, like, you can't go any higher than a belt-driven 10-inch saw. And watch this here. I don't know how you guys are around, but I don't like blades that keep moving. I mean, watch this fucking thing here. Okay, we'll turn it off. Okay, it's off. Like, fuck me. Let's go for coffee here. So every time you want to make a cut, holy. Anyways, that's my rant. The other thing too, so I come out here a year ago, I was going to make a cross cut. So, well, first of all, I tried using this sliding table. Fuck, that's not going to work. So I put the miter gauge in, I make a cross cut, and it's crooked and shit. So I make up a jig and I set up a dial indicator and I move the motor and get it all zeroed into the miter gauge and everything's cool. Lower the blade down, make another cut, it's still crooked. So what happened, this is like after a day of dinking around with this thing. So what happens is that as you raise the blade, for whatever reason, the frickin' blade skews on it. So what I ended up doing is I ended up setting it square, the height of a 2x4. I mean, I had to find a happy medium. But if you raise the blade up, it goes out like, and it's not a small amount. It's like it's like a 32nd of an inch front to back of the blade. Like, just ridiculous. I was gonna try and figure it out, but I lost patience by that time because it'd been over a day working on the darn thing. Anyway, so it's the best I got, so that's what I gotta use. Yeah, so I just transferred those marks a little bit to the side here on both ends. And then what I'm going to do is just lay this on here and line up those marks like that. That one's lined up. And that one's lined up. And then I'm just going to transfer the marks from the gauge onto here and wrap them around, and well, I don't even have to wrap them around, I'll just transfer them on, and then I can draw the lines on the back side where the jig boundaries have to go. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll come back. Okay, so now you can see what I did. I transferred the marks around, and that's where my jig boundaries are going to go. And you can see the side piece, we're going to have 1 inch on the base. This is the bottom. I've got more than 1 inch because there's going to be a piece of 1/2 inch Baltic birch across the front to stiffen everything up. It actually measures about 7/16. So that's why that little space there. So basically I can go ahead and cut those grooves now, and theoretically they should be in exactly the same place as they are in the top. That's the theory. We'll check it out here. Okay, so there we go. We've got matching grooves, dados I guess, grooves. Dados here, grooves here. With the grain grooves, against the grain dados. Yes? I don't know. So when we flip this over, everything should match up. So what we're going to do next is the side pieces. I'm going to use the easy way. I'm just going to use the rabbiting bit, 1/4 inch rabbiting bit. Probably if I had my saw set up the way it used to be, I'd be using it and a dado blade, but in this case we'll just use the rabbiting bit. I'll just use one of those pieces of scrap there to get the depth on it, or the width of the tenon, and should go pretty good. I'll get set up and then we'll have a look at that. Okay, I know you're probably not going to believe me, but I got the depth right the first time. Just a little bit of a friction there. And perfect. So that's what I want. Just something to kind of hold everything in the right place. And so I'm going to do all the dividers now. The only thing we'll have to do on the dividers, or we'll either have to chisel this end square. This end's okay because I've got that front piece coming on. I went a little further. Chisel this square or do something with the tenon. We'll figure that out when we get to it. Okay, well that went pretty good. I think all we need to do now, because these pieces, they've got a little bit of a warp in them, not much. So usually what you got to do is just touch them up. I just use this. Touch up the tenons with this block. So it won't take very much because you can see they're just about going in as it is. Other than that, I think we'll finish fitting them, and then tomorrow on my way out here I'll pick up some of that knockdown hardware from Home Depot, and we'll figure out how all that stuff all works, and we'll try to install that.